Excuse me, I have a warrant for your arrest. Let me in your house. No. Where's your gold? If you don't tell me where your gold is, I'm going to take you to jail. Okay, I don't want that. I don't want to be
all right. I have a warrant for your arrest. Tell me where your Bitcoin wallet is.
I don't have any.
Well, we think you do.
Okay, go look for it.
Well, they're not going to find my gold either.
Well, of course they can. Of course they can. They can look for it because it's physical and it exists.
Well, isn't your Bitcoin stored on something physical? You have like a flash drive, or even if you wrote down your seed phrase on a piece of paper?
It's not on this piece of paper. It's in my head.
Oh, your whole seed phrase is in your head.
Yes, because I understand what it means to be a sovereign individual, and I do not take that lightly.
And I do not take that lightly. What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Jerry. From JerryLovesFreedom. What you have in front of you today, my Bitcoin stackers and my silver stackers. We're going to come together, and my gold stackers. We're going to come together in peace and harmony, right? Bitcoin stackers I have here is some constitutional silver, pre-1965 silver. These are dimes. This is a Roosevelt, and this is a Mercury dime, and then we got some quarters over here. And then for my silver stackers, we have because I know Bitcoin stackers knows what this is. This is a Treasure Model T. This is a cold storage. It gets you to your Bitcoin on the blockchain. It's not held on there. But what she was talking about and what he was talking about, Peter Schiff, they were talking about, oh, isn't it held on a hard drive? It's not actually held on there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna review or react to Layah and Peter Schiff. Everybody know who Peter Schiff is, and the Bitcoin people know who Layah is. Layah Heilpern is a young lady who's a crypto enthusiast. She's mainly into Bitcoin, and she's very, very big in the space. And they went at it. They went at it. I haven't watched the whole thing. I watched the beginning of it. I said, you know what? Let me react to this. So without further ado, let's see what they're talking about.
Joining me today is American stockbroker, financial commentator, and media personality. He's the CEO of Euro-Pacific Asset Management and the founder of Schiff Gold. He's also one of the biggest critics of Bitcoin, which is exactly why we're here today. We first clashed heads back in February earlier this year on Fox News, where we debated Bitcoin versus gold.
I actually found that clip. I remember this. Now, this recording here, her and Peter Schiff, the one I'm about to react to, I think it was shot in maybe December of 2022, and she's just now releasing it. So when she was saying early in the year in February, she's talking about February 2022. And this was on, I believe, Fox Business with Charles Payne. So let's check this out from February 2022.
So lately, gold has been shining and Bitcoin has been struggling. And now the old guard is taking a victory lap, saying that there's only one true hedge against inflation and store value, and it's been around for millions of years. But my crypto guest says that the next 1 million years is all about Bitcoin and crypto. Joining me now, Bitcoin expert Layah Heilpern, along with Euro-Pacific Capital chief economist Peter Schiff. I'm glad to have you both. Let me start with you, Layah. Bitcoin, taking it on the chin here a little bit, and some of the arguments, uncorrelated, hedge against inflation, a flight to safety, those haven't worked lately. What do you say to people who are saying maybe it was overhyped?
Well, actually, I think it's exactly working. Put the price away just for a second. If you actually understand the fundamental value of Bitcoin, it's working perfectly. Let's go to Canada, for example. The government behaved so authoritarian and decided to freeze the bank accounts of freedom protesters. As a result, people can literally start trading peer-to-peer in Bitcoin. You can't trade peer-to-peer in gold. Bitcoin is literally an alternative monetary system. It really is a medium of exchange. Nobody is trading when, for goods and services in gold.
I love you, Layah, but I have to disagree with that. People are trading in gold in different countries. Now, not in America as much, but you can definitely trade peer-to-peer with gold for sure. It's a little bit clunky. It's not as easy as it is with maybe silver, because silver is more fractional and stuff like that. It's harder with gold, obviously, because gold is so much value and so much in a little space. But I disagree with her on that one.
Also, a really important point to make as well is when it comes to donating and actually helping these people have donated nearly $500,000, it's probably more, in Bitcoin to the Canadian truckers. And then also, if you go to Ukraine, it's also very important to realize that the same kind of capital controls are happening.
Right, Peter?
The same type of capital controls are happening. And so people are actually donating. I think it's around $4.4 million.
Wow. Peter, I mean, and to be honest, gold hasn't done much in the last decade. It's looking better these days, but, the same arguments that Layah just laid out, you used to use for buying gold. Has it just shifted? I mean, is the rationale for wanting to have an alternative to the dollar still there, but maybe it's no longer gold?
No, we definitely need alternatives to the dollar, and there are many ways to hedge against inflation, but Bitcoin is not one of them. Bitcoin is not going to hedge against anything. It's just a highly speculative token. It's basically a digital pyramid Ponzi scheme.
Peter is notoriously known. He's a great economist. He's great at everything when it comes to the economy and money and finance and stuff like that and gold. But he's 100% wrong when it comes to Bitcoin being a Ponzi scheme. I mean, you guys understand what a Ponzi scheme is, right? It's when somebody's at the top and all the money flows. Nobody owns Bitcoin. It's traded peer to peer. You know what I mean? So in order to be a Ponzi scheme, you have to really dig deep and you have to learn what Bitcoin is and what a Ponzi scheme is. And it's definitely the farthest thing from a Ponzi scheme.
It went up for a while, but people are using it primarily to gamble with. People are betting that the price is going to go up, except now the price is falling. In fact, year over year, the price of Bitcoin is down, and it may be going a lot lower. It doesn't have any fundamental intrinsic value like gold. It's not a business. It doesn't pay a dividend like a stock. It's not real estate. Right. You can't rent it out. It's not a bond. It's like it's a digital Beanie Baby, except you can't snuggle up with it. It doesn't look cute on your bed.
But what's the argument for buying gold, though? I mean, okay, you laid out the reasons you don't like Bitcoin, but what's the argument now at this stage for buying gold, that has been an underperformer for a long time?
Well, not a long time, because remember, from 2001 to 2011, the price of gold went up from under 300 to almost 2,000. So when you have that kind of move over a decade,
and from 2011 to 2021, it didn't do much.
Full disclosure, Charles Payne actually has Bitcoin too. He has Bitcoin and gold. You know what I mean? He's just trying to make it a fair argument. But to back up Peter, I don't know what he's about to say, but we all know in the precious metal space that gold and silver are manipulated to no ends. You know what I mean? I mean, gold should be $5,000 an ounce and silver should be $200 an ounce. Easy, with all the money printing and everything else. I mean, there's all this extra cash and everything else, and the finite the finiteness of precious metals, gold and silver should be through the roof right now. But it's on paper, it's manipulated. So I'll give Peter Schiff that one.
Correct. It's consolidated, and now it's getting ready for another big run up as a result of all the inflation that has been created over the past decade and the inflation that's going to be created during the coming decade. I think gold is very cheap relative to the amount of dollars in circulation. I think the technical picture looks very bright for gold, as does the fundamental picture. I think we've now had a big blow up in inflation. For a while, people thought there was no inflation. Then they thought it was transitory, and now they think the Fed is going to fight it. They're wrong again. The Fed can't fight inflation because we have too much debt. Inflation is going to get worse, and people are going to look for hedges, and gold is going to be one of the hedges they choose, not Bitcoin.
Layah?
Well, I think you said Bitcoin isn't really doing anything. Right now, Bitcoin is actually saving people's lives. People are fleeing war-torn Ukraine. They're actually leaving to go to Poland. Are they taking their gold bullion bars? Absolutely not. And even if they did get to the border, people are absolutely corrupt. If they get to the border, authorities could say, sorry, can I have one of those gold bullion bars and only let you in that case. So you don't really want to be snuggling up with your Bitcoin. Nobody wants to know that you own Bitcoin. That's the fundamental value. You can flee tyranny. And right now you can flee, lockdowns. You can flee vaccine mandates, whatever it is your government is throwing at you, you can flee that with the keys in your head. Nobody needs to know what you own, and I certainly will not be fleeing any kind of dangerous tyrannical government with gold bullion bars.
I agree with that and disagree with that. I agree because a lot of people, relatively speaking to the things that are going on, what happened in Canada and the things that's happening in Ukraine and stuff like that, there are some people using Bitcoin. And you don't need this actual device to get to your Bitcoin. Remember this, you have to put your 12 to 24 word key phrase in there to get to the Bitcoin on the blockchain. If you don't have this, you can just break that, leave it alone or whatever, keep your keys or your key phrase in your head and then go travel with it and then go buy another one of these and then enter it in there and you get to your Bitcoin. That's true. She's being kind of harsh on gold, to be honest with you, saying nobody's going to use gold and nobody's going to bring gold. That's not true. Gold has a long, long history. People are still using gold. More people now use gold than Bitcoin. I think that's going to change in the future. But we're in a paradigm shift right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a very, very small window, a crazy window. It's almost like when the horse moved over to the locomotive. You know what I mean? People were still using horses and people didn't want to mess with the locomotives. The locomotives are a lot better. But again, people are using gold. So I definitely disagree with her on that.
Peter?
But the vast majority of people who are buying Bitcoin are not buying it for that reason. They're buying Bitcoin because they think the price is going to go up. And when they stop thinking the price is going to go up, they're going to sell. And when enough people want to sell and there's nobody to buy, the price is going to collapse. And, you know, this whole argument that it's a store of value is going to evaporate because you can't store something you don't have. Bitcoin has no underlying value like gold, which is a metal, a valuable metal that's used for all sorts of things. Bitcoin isn't used for anything other than speculation. And it's only being used for speculation because people think it's going to go up. Well, if they stop thinking that because it's going down, then there is no reason to own it. Yes, you come up with these small examples, but that's a tiny fraction of the demand for Bitcoin. And once the price crashes, that demand will go away too.
Layah?
But you've been saying the price is going to crash for, years now. I follow you on Twitter. I've been seeing what you've been saying. And I mean, if you look at the last 5 years, gold is actually up only around 39%. It's not really done anything, whereas Bitcoin is up 3,200%. Perhaps we live in an entirely new era and a new time where my generation, millennials, actually do see value in something which is digital rather than something which is tangible.
Peter,
well, all young
30
generations make mistakes. Bitcoin has crashed many times over the last 5 years. It's just come back every time.
It comes back pretty strong. We got to leave it there.
But it doesn't always come back, Charles. One time it's going to crash and never come back.
All right, let's leave it there. Two passionate folks. Peter, Layah, thank you both very much.
Very interesting. Now let's see what they say in round two.
So here we are, ready for round two.
Oh, and real quick, they actually talked for probably 15 or 20 minutes before the debate actually started. And, you know, Peter Schiff was talking about the economy and talking about the fiat currency and the printing and, you know, the scamdemic and everything was going on. And again, the gold and silver bugs and Bitcoin agree on everything except what's the best way to fight against the fiat currency. So when she's talking like, hey, I agree with you with everything you said, that's what they were talking about. But I skipped that and we're going to go straight to the debate.
Okay, so here's the thing. I agree with everything that we've discussed, everything that you said. I'm very pro-freedom, very pro-small government, and I personally think Bitcoin is the answer to everything that we've discussed, and so many people share this view. I know you obviously don't, so Peter, I feel like this is exactly where the debate begins. So tell me, what is the problem with Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin has a lot of problems. I mean, the only problem Bitcoin would solve is if you have too much money and you want to lose some, you could buy Bitcoin and that will solve your problem.
That was a good one, man. I'm not even going to lie.
These are sound bites.
No, this is reality. Look, Bitcoin, the idea of Bitcoin is nice. And if you don't really understand what money is, you may be fooled into thinking Bitcoin is a viable alternative. But it's not. I mean, Bitcoin tries to copy the properties that made gold better money than some other commodity. It's divisibility, it's portability, it's fungibility. Yes, I mean, Bitcoin does a good job if you cut a Bitcoin in half, right? Each half is the same. Just like if I take an ounce of gold and I make 2 half ounces, they're identical. All gold is exactly the same, right? It's not like if you have 2 cows, they're not going to weigh the same. They're not going to, be the same height. Even 2 diamonds are not going to be the same. They have different cut, clarity, color, stuff like that. But gold's gold, and so it's fungible, divisible. It's really good as a medium of exchange and a unit account and all that. But what Bitcoin doesn't have is any actual value, right? Like gold does. Gold is a commodity. It's a metal. Here, I mean, I have some gold in this watch. But so gold actually has value that can be stored, and since gold doesn't tarnish or decay, it makes it ideal as a long-term store of value because I can have gold and in 100 years somebody could use that gold for something. It's not going to go away. And so gold was a great commodity to be money because what money is the most marketable commodity. So in order to become money, you have to start out as a commodity and then you can become money. Now, you also have fiat money, which a lot of people that are pro-Bitcoin understand the problem with fiat money. And the way fiat money came around is governments, or not even before governments, private issuers would hold real money, gold, in a vault, and then they would issue a note that was backed by that gold that would circulate as a substitute for gold. And those notes were currency. But what gave the currency value was the gold that was in a vault somewhere backing it up. But it was more convenient to trade in the currency than in the actual gold. But what happened later on is currency started to circulate because of government that was backed by nothing. And it just derived its value from faith. People just believed that it would have value, despite the fact that it was no longer tied to anything of real value like gold. So what Bitcoin really is like that fiat currency that a government creates, where it has no actual value, but if people have confidence in it, if people believe that it has value, well, then it will have some value temporarily until people stop believing. But in the meantime, even though there are people who believe that Bitcoin has value, the Bitcoin itself is so volatile in price and so expensive to transact in that it can't even function as a unit of account or as a medium of exchange. And it can't be a store of value, so it doesn't even have any of the characteristics that would be required to make it money. It's just a speculative token, and the price can change based on the mood of buyers and sellers, and eventually I think the price zeroes out.
Very interesting, very interesting.
First one I want to get to first is where its value comes from. A lot of people say that Bitcoin doesn't have any value, and I think they land there because they don't really understand how a Bitcoin is created. So I'm going to just go through the steps, if I may, and show you where I personally think the value comes from, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so miners all around the world use hard capital to purchase electrical energy. Whether that's fiat, dollars, pounds, whatever it is, they use hard capital to purchase electrical energy. That electrical energy is then converted into computational power using the ASIC mining machinery. So specific Bitcoin mining machinery. So we now have computational power. That computational power, the ASIC miners then harness that computational power and put it into hash power. That hash power is then used to secure and validate the network. So once the network is secured and validated, there's a block reward, and the self-regulating network spits out Bitcoin. So right now it's 6.25 Bitcoin. So what happened was money went in, actual hard capital went in, and as a result, Bitcoin is created.
Yeah, if I didn't own any Bitcoin and I sat across from her and just looked at her explaining it to me, I don't care what she explains. I would definitely probably buy it, to be honest. And if she can't convince Peter, I don't know who can. My goodness.
Yes, I can see that. A lot of energy and resources are wasted creating nothing.
No, but they created something.
No, they didn't. Okay, so what if I went out there and I hired a group of people to dig a big hole in the ground, right? Spent a lot of money, people worked really hard digging that hole. Then I paid the same group of people to fill the hole back up with the same dirt that they dug out. And at the end of the day, I was right back where I started from. But a lot of work went into that, right? I spent a lot of humans were digging and filling and all that. But what have I accomplished? What have I created of value?
Well, a dirt hole is just a dirt hole. You can't do anything with it. Bitcoin has utility.
What? What utility?
So decentralization. It's one of the most secure networks in the world. You have hundreds of thousands of miners.
Yeah, but what's the Bitcoin itself worth?
It's worth whatever the market values it
Well,
at.
right. But how do you know the market's going to value it at anything in the future?
Well, of course it will, because of the value of it.
What value? What can I do with it?
The fact that it's one of the most secure networks in the world. Earlier you spoke about the confiscation of money. So the fact that you can actually hold Bitcoin.
But what are you securing? I mean, I could have the most secure vault in the world, but if I've got nothing inside it, what good is all that security if I'm not protecting anything of value? There is no value that you have with that token. Now, if that token were, let's say, backed by gold, right? Let's say there was a vault that had some gold in it, and then there was a digital token that was issued instead of paper, right? That was backed by gold. I had a digital token that was backed by gold that was every bit as divisible and portable and fungible as Bitcoin, except it actually had something backing it, something of real value. That can accomplish everything that you're hoping to accomplish with Bitcoin, except it would work. It could actually be a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and a store of value, and a viable alternative to fiat money.
I'm not going to lie. If I didn't know what I know about Bitcoin, and I listen to Peter, I wouldn't buy it. You know what I mean? And he's just doing a disservice to people in the precious metal space, man. There's so many smart people in the precious metal space. If they didn't listen to Peter Schiff, they'd get Bitcoin. But I understand where he's coming from. But if you know, you know, ladies and gentlemen.
So let me try paint it in this way.
Yeah.
So I think that Bitcoin is basically an energy business, right? Try tell that to the miners that it has no value. So an example.
How is it an energy business?
Because so I know a company that put down $8,000 in, and as a result, it spits out Bitcoin, right? And so if you tell them that it has no value, well, they've just put down $8,000. So if I say to them, can I take your Bitcoin for free? They'll say, absolutely not. I technically paid $8,000 for it. Can I give you an iPhone as an example? So say you have an iPhone, right? And you paid $1,000 for the iPhone. And I say to you, can I please have that iPhone for free? Are you going to give it to me for free?
Yes, I would definitely give you my iPhone, Layah. Whatever you want, honey. You can have it. Whatever you want.
Well, why would I, right? I know.
Right, because you paid $1,000 for it.
That's
so
true.
why would you give it to me for free? So if I then said to you, do you know what? It's secondhand. I'll actually take it for $750. So now, because of market conditions and supply and demand, obviously, as you know, the price can fluctuate, like it can with gold, with Bitcoin, and any other.
But the thing is, right? But the cell phone actually has value. I can use it, make calls. I can, surf the internet. But if I was dumb enough to overpay, let's say I paid somebody $1 million and they gave me their phone. I mean, I'd be an idiot to pay $1 million, but it doesn't mean I'm going to find a bigger fool that's going to pay me $2 million for that phone. But that's really what's going on with Bitcoin. I mean, the people who are buying Bitcoin or producing Bitcoin, yes, I agree. They're spending a lot of money to acquire or create that Bitcoin because they think they'll be able to sell it to somebody who will pay more.
And they do.
For now, but you don't know. Look, as we're talking right now, Bitcoin is about $19,000 a coin. Now, at one point, it was $69,000 a coin. So there are people who bought Bitcoin at $69,000 under the impression that they were buying a safe haven store of value. And what, they're down 70% right now on that? I mean, that's a bigger decline than just about anything. I mean, you can probably find some individual tech stocks that went down more than Bitcoin. But there's nothing safe, there's nothing secure, there's no values being stored there. But Bitcoin is 19,000 now. Who's to say that a year from now it won't be 9,000 or 1,000? You don't know. I mean, maybe it'll go up. I think it's more likely to go way down than go up.
Like I said, they recorded this in December 2022. Bitcoin's at 29,000 right now. 29. It's up 70 something percent. A lot of Bitcoin haters will pick a specific time or a period of what the price was. They say, oh, well, if you bought it at 69,000, it was only in the 60s for a little while. You know what I mean? It wasn't in the 60s for a whole year or 2 years or something like that. It was only a small window. What he fails to say in that argument is, well, Bitcoin was also 10 cents. It was also $1. It was $50. It was $3,000. It was $20,000. It was all different kind of prices. But if you scale it out and look at it over the long term from January 3rd, 2009 until today, gold is getting crushed compared to Bitcoin. Everything. The dollar, stocks, silver, anything that you compare Bitcoin to is getting crushed from January 3rd, 2009 until today.
But something that can be that volatile and have such a big move in such a short period of time, I mean, I don't see how anybody would have confidence in it as a substitute for money.
So let's talk about that as a store of value. So gold in the last 5 years is only up 35%. Bitcoin in the last 5 years is up 2,000%. Gold in the last 10 years is up 3%. Bitcoin in the last 10 years is up 375,000%. I personally have a long-term view. It's only 10, 12, 13 years old. It's very new. So I'm not surprised that it's going to fluctuate like this. But I think it's going to even itself out in the next 15 to 20 years.
As of January 3rd, 2023, this year. It's 14 years old, right? So it's almost 14 and a half. It is a baby, ladies and gentlemen. Of course it's going to be volatile. And she's exactly right. I'm in it for the long term. When they're talking about selling Bitcoin, I'm not selling Bitcoin. And I'm not selling this either, by the way. I'm not selling any of my stack, my Constitutional, my Inglehards, or anything like that. I use this as a long-term store of value and a hedge on inflation, but I use my Bitcoin for my future money. You know what I mean? We're in a paradigm shift, ladies and gentlemen. We just are. The dollar is dying, and these two things together are going to defeat the dollar.
Look, you could have made the same argument about Beanie Babies and gold. If you go back for the first few years of Beanie Babies, you could say, well, Beanie Babies are a better store of value than gold. Look how much they've outperformed gold as the bubble was inflating. Bitcoin is one of the biggest bubbles in the history of the world. And obviously, as the price of Bitcoin went from pennies to tens of thousands, it outperformed everything. Right? Yeah, if you would have bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, home run. Even if you bought it 5 years ago, you made a really good amount of money. But the majority of people who own Bitcoin are losing money. That is a fact. Most people who own Bitcoin paid more than $19,000. And in fact, a lot of people who bought Bitcoin lower bought more higher. And their average price is now above the current market price. Look at some of these big promoters. Look at Michael Saylor. Look at how much money his company has lost, billions of dollars.
Let me stop you right there, Mr. Schiff. Like I said, this was in December 2022. As of right now, Michael Saylor is up. His average price of Bitcoin is $28,000 per coin or something like that. Michael Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategies. He owns him and his company own 140,000 Bitcoin. Listen, the only time you lose money is when you buy it at a certain price that's lower than it was today or higher than it was today, and then you sell for cash. Guys, people that buy this stuff in Bitcoin aren't selling. We're talking about the hodlers and the people that hold on for dear life with our precious metals and our Bitcoin. I'm not going to sell this for fiat currency because fiat currency is trash. It's garbage. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. This is going to be the new digital money, and this is God's money. This is the people's money. I'm not selling, and neither is Michael Saylor.
Look at that fool in El Salvador. Look how much money that poor country has lost already in Bitcoin, and they're going to lose even more. So yes, you had this huge speculative run-up in Bitcoin. But that's not a store of value. That's just a speculative gain. And the only people who benefited from that are the people who sold. The people who are holding on haven't made anything. They're hoping the price goes back up, but the price is more likely to go back down. In fact, if you look at what happened to Bitcoin in 2021, that was the peak of the bubble, right? Think about all the money that was spent by the crypto industry to pump up Bitcoin and other altcoins in 2021. Massive commercials, every network, billboards, stadiums, Super Bowl ads, conferences. Look at all the NFTs. El Salvador came out. I mean, it was one crazy thing after another. Massive hype. All the celebrities got on board. The athletes, the singers. Massive pump, yet the price went down. You drive through my neighborhood, drive around my street. Half these houses are owned by crypto people. They came in here last year. They paid $40 million for houses in the street. Crazy prices. 8 times what I paid for my house, right? A couple years ago. Why? They were cashing out of their crypto. All the big money, as they were running all these commercials about how great crypto was and Bitcoin, what were they doing? They were selling. That's why the price didn't go up, despite unprecedented pumping. All these institutions supposedly came in. Not Michael Saylor, but Anthony Scaramucci, Skybridge funds. Those funds are down. Look at all of his funds. They're down 60, 70, 80%. The people that poured in their money are killed. And I think that was the peak of the mania. People are just in denial right now. It's a massive bear market. Look at the technicals. Look at the chart. It's a complete disaster.
Those are facts, Peter Schiff. He is absolutely right. When he's talking about cryptocurrencies, a lot of people pumped and dumped. The CEOs of the companies pumped and dumped. The venture capitalists of the altcoins pumped and dumped. CFOs, early investors, they pumped and dumped. You're absolutely right. It was a craze. And then the FTX stuff happened, right? And that caused it to crash down He's absolutely right. People made millions of dollars off the cryptocurrencies. But Bitcoin is not crypto, and crypto is not Bitcoin, Peter. That's what you're failing to realize. You're grouping up Bitcoin with all this other stuff. Bitcoin didn't crash because a bunch of people sold. Bitcoin crashed because people didn't understand it. The diamond hands stayed in and the weak hands got out. It's all about the education, and they don't understand what Bitcoin was. So when FTX crashed down and made Bitcoin crash down to 15,000 something, I backed up my truck, man. You know what I mean? And now we went back up over 30 and stuff like that. The Bitcoin halving is coming up next year. I don't know what the price is, and I don't care what the price is, because again, fiat is trash compared to this and Bitcoin. This is the hardest money in the world, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 21 million in the entire world, split up between 8 billion people. It is the most finite thing. You can go get more silver somewhere in the ocean or somewhere else. It's more finite than gold. I mean, more finite than fiat. You can go find gold somewhere else. You know, maybe, you know, in the oceans, or, you know, in the somewhere mining or something like that, places that we haven't found yet. You can't find any more Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. So he's right. Everything he said about cryptos are right. But again, Bitcoin is not crypto, and crypto is not Bitcoin.
So I can't wait to have this conversation again in 5 years, because I think you're going to be wrong. So I want to just make clear that there is a difference between Bitcoin and crypto. That's really important.
That's what the Bitcoin maximalists say.
So I'm going to start with limited supply, 21 million. That's really important. There will never be, because we know there's a hard cap. That's really important. You were talking earlier about printing money. With gold, we never really know how much gold there is. There's always more gold
there's
to
not
be
that
found.
much of it.
There's always more to be found. So I think
yes,
Bitcoin,
a little bit more.
Just exactly. With Bitcoin, there's a hard cap of 21 million.
That is crazy. I swear to God, guys, I did not watch that part. I did not watch that. Everything I just said, she's saying. It's the truth, man, because we all know in Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Wow, that just blew my mind. Maybe me and Layah are meant to be buying Bitcoin together.
If nobody wants Bitcoin, it doesn't matter how many there are. There can be one Bitcoin and it has no value if nobody wants it.
So I want Bitcoin. I want Bitcoin because when the government came and said, you know, if you don't take our mandatory medicines, you don't take our injections, then we're going to freeze your bank accounts. I need to know that I have money that's immune from confiscation. But it is money, because I pay people in Bitcoin and they pay me in Bitcoin.
Well,
so I'm literally running a business in Bitcoin.
But
today, I got paid all the way from Hong Kong. So in a country which is under, you know, the China communist regime, they were able to send Bitcoin to me. They didn't send gold to me cross borders. They didn't send fiat currency to me. They were actually able to send me Bitcoin.
And then what
it came to me instantly. It cost 58 cents. I then sent that Bitcoin to another country in the United Kingdom. I sent it to England. It cost me 58 cents.
Who'd you send it to?
It doesn't matter. My people that work for me. And
what are they going to do with it?
They can do so much with it. So earlier you mentioned buying a cup of coffee. Great, let's talk about that. Right now, the acceptability for Bitcoin is incredible. You have MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, creating intermediary payment rails, which allow you to top up your card and then spend your Bitcoin. I can't take this off and get a cup of coffee with it.
You don't understand how it works. You're topping up your card with dollars. What you're doing with those schemes is you take your Bitcoin and sell it, and then they load up your debit card with dollars.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Because it still allows Bitcoin to be used. I can't top up anything with.
I can sell anything and put the proceeds on a debit card.
Right, I can sell. Not this gold bracelet. What do I do with this gold bracelet? If I want to go buy a cup of coffee, what do I do?
No, but you wouldn't buy a cup of coffee with your gold bracelet.
Right, but I can't buy Bitcoin.
But you can also have a token backed by gold and use that to buy your coffee, and you can always do it.
A token where?
There's several
on a centralized
gold
exchange which can be frozen if I don't have the correct political opinion?
No, on the same exchanges that people buy Bitcoin, or can be, exchange, peer to peer, the way you exchange your Bitcoin. Look, Bitcoin is not acceptable to these coffee shops or grocery stores or gas stations. No, they don't.
In New Hampshire, in the United States, they do. In Malta, they accept Bitcoin. People have bought houses with Bitcoin. You even accept Bitcoin on Schiff Gold.
No, you don't understand how it works. We don't. The way Schiff Gold sells gold, people have Bitcoin. They use this company called BitPay. BitPay sells the Bitcoin to get dollars, and then they use the dollars to buy the gold. So there has to be a buyer for those Bitcoin in order for you to sell them to buy something else. When there's no buyer for Bitcoin, the bottom drops out of the market because there is no natural demand for Bitcoin because Bitcoin isn't used for anything.
It's a payment of, it's
not.
medium of exchange. It's a medium of exchange.
No, it's not.
It's divisible by 100.
Who cares that it's divisible?
And it's amazing because at the point of sale, I can't take my gold
Yes,
bullion
you can.
saw it in half.
You don't have to.
Figure out how much it is, how much
All right, wait a minute.
what's the value of that.
Do you realize that the world was using gold as money for thousands of years?
I know.
And you think people were walking around with saws, sawing off their gold? Of course not. And now with the internet, with blockchain, and with other technology we have, your gold can sit in a vault and it can circulate without you ever having to touch it. So gold is going to work much better as money today than it did in the 19th century, the 18th century, the 17th century, or thousands of years before that. I mean, gold still works. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel when the wheel still works. And by the way, Bitcoin isn't a wheel, so it's not going to work at all.
Peter is funny, boy. They are going in. I'm liking this. It's getting heated. I don't see the smiles as much as I did in the beginning. Do you guys?